And for those of you that were missing grade 12s, here's just a brief recap of today's notes. So we did the transformation of sinusoidal functions. We looked at sine functions in the same way that we did in chapter 1 with other quadratics and cubics and polynomial functions, where the a value dealt with vertical expansions and compressions. The b value dealt with horizontal compressions and expansions. H was a horizontal shift, translations left or right, and k was vertical translations up or down. So in this function we had y equals sine bracket x minus pi over 4 plus 2. Since there was no value in front, we identified that a value as being 1, and that was our amplitude. Our amplitude was equal to 1. Since there was no b value in front of the bracket, we identified that b value as being 1, and we discussed the period being equal to 2 pi divided by the b value, so 2 pi over 1 was 2 pi. So no change in the period of this function. We saw in here that we had x minus pi over 4. That's x minus h, so our h value is pi over 4, which shifted our function to the right, pi over 4, and it shifted it up 2. So we talked about a vertical displacement of 2. I showed you how to do the box method. So we drew our box, about 6 lines tall and about 8 lines wide, cut it into 4 equal parts and in half. The first thing we did was identify a vertical displacement of 2, so I put 2 in the middle here. Then I used the amplitude value of 1 and added that to 2. So 2 plus 1 gave me 3, and subtracted it from 2, so 2 minus 1 gave us 1. Then we used our phase shift of pi over 4 to identify where our function was going to start, period of 2 pi, divided it by 4 to figure out what the interval was going to be for each of these pieces. So 2 pi divided by 4 was pi over 2, and I added that to my start point. Now pi over 4 and pi over 2 have two different denominators, so I rethink this as 2 pi over 4, same denominator, and then I could just start adding it. Pi over 4 plus 2 pi over 4 is 3 pi over 4, plus 2, 5 pi over 4, plus 2, 7 pi over 4, and plus 2, 9 pi over 4. Finally, we looked at the fact that this was a sine function, and we built up. So up to a maximum, down to cross, down to a minimum, and back up to cross our midline. So now we have the shape of the graph. Then we were able to put that onto an xy axis. So you'll notice pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 5, 7, and 9 pi over 4. I plotted those on my graph. So pi over 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pi over 4, 8, and 9 pi over 4. I drew these dotted red lines here to show that's the maximum height, the minimum height, and this should be the middle of my graph. Then each of the points here, my starting, my top, my middle, my bottom, and my end point, I plotted. Starting, top, middle, bottom, end point, and I could have extended that a number of times. We did it again with 2 sine of x plus 30 degrees, so our period instead of 2 pi was 360 degrees. Amplitude was 2, vertical displacement -1, phase shift 30 degrees to the left. Built my box, drew my graph, and put it onto my axes. You can pause this, rewind it, and take a look at that again if you need to. And then I gave you 3 questions to do, for which I wanted you to do the box, the graph, and show 2 cycles of it. Right, good luck. We'll see you tomorrow.